Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Embodied. I'm your host, Anne Berube, and today I have the joy of sharing a conversation with someone who has shaped my life in quiet and powerful ways for more than 15 years, my dear friend, Naomi Irons. Every time we sit together, something larger than both of us emerges. In this episode, Naomi speaks with extraordinary honesty about a life-changing moment, her son's illness, and the spiritual initiation it became. We explore what trust feels like when it's no longer an idea, but the only ground left, how it transforms us, how it unravels us, and how it awakens what has been dormant. It's a tender, spacious conversation, one that invites you to feel into your own relationship with trust, presence, and the mysteries that shape us. I'm so honored to share this with you. Let's begin. Hello, everyone. Oh, I'm so happy to be here today with my beautiful friend Naomi. Um, we just chatted briefly before I click record, and I was already crying, so this is promising for our conversation today, but in a good way because um Naomi, we've known each other for over 15 years, I think
Mhm.
now. And I every time I'm in conversation with you, I grow, I expand. And it can be and I think that the most important thing about our conversations is that we don't know necessarily where it's going to go. And because of that, the opportunity for growth and expansion is um I think it's quantum because we trust that there is something that lives in that space, that latent space of between us, and that it just will emerge by virtue of being open and present and trusting and deeply loving of our own hearts in the presence of each other.
Mm.
And so I have been wanting to talk about trust with you for a while. Um, I know that you have your own relationship to it, especially in the past few years. Um, a lot has happened, and so let's just start there. Let's just start with trust and how it's unfolding for you in your life.
Thank you for that amazing kind of intro to this conversation because like you, I feel this space that we cultivate together um, that is deeply rooted in trust. So it allows us to really go into the places and spaces that we need to, that are calling, that are important, um, and just by virtue of just what you just opened, yeah, the last few years, trust has been probably the number one exploration that I've been in, and not in all the places that I thought I would have to go to explore it for sure. My life, as we spoke about briefly before we started recording, has been this amazing adventure, and it will continue to be for as long as I walk on this earth. Um, I was joking a few weeks ago with a friend that I was like, when I came I to this planet, I checked the adventure box, but maybe that was a mistake. Like maybe that was um,
It's
I-
a lot.
it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. So yeah, all the experiences and all the spaces that I didn't know I didn't trust. Um, and so to take it into a little bit of content, because I feel like it's important um, for the context of this conversation as well. A few years ago, I found myself in the role of mother with my son who was not well. And I really, knowing all that I know and everything that is important to my soul, and truth being one of them, truth and trust, I think, are very, very interconnected. Um, I knew something was going on, and I didn't necessarily know what that was. And as I journeyed with him, as he was unwell and we got a diagnosis, and I found myself going along with that, but deep, deep, deep inside, I knew something else was happening. And I can even feel myself in this conversation. It's like it's so easy to keep ourselves one step removed from life, from what is happening in the moment. And so bear with me as I step into this space with myself, because it's the first time that I've really, besides intimate conversation with friends and family, that I've opened up and shared this. So I think that journey with my son was really taking us both to the precipice of life and trusting what was beginning to unfold. And so it all happened so fast that we found ourselves in the hospital, and my son getting an MRI, that then we were driving down the road afterwards, just, heading home like a normal day, when I got the call that they found something in his MRI and that we needed to come back. And in that moment, it was like that knowing that had lived like below the ocean floor is the way that it felt for me. That was so deep and so true. But yet I have to trust that it wasn't time yet, that this was the moment. This was the moment that I could feel, it's not by accident. I live on the Hawaiian Islands, and like this, almost like this earthquake from the ocean floor of, here's the knowing. Here is that which it wasn't time to trust yet. I wasn't ready. And so when my son went back for the second MRI, it was revealed to us that he had a giant brain tumor, the
Wow.
size of almost a softball. And in that moment, I've heard this many times. I've felt it in different experiences in my life, but there was just the deepest of presence. Like it was a presence that there was no space for anything else but trust. I knew that was what was being asked in that moment. And I had this moment of, okay, this is how these islands were formed, out of the sea, out of this incredible presence being revealed. And in that moment, I realized that was my path that I was about to walk on. And I felt very much like the mountain, that was emerging from the sea. And not only did I have to trust myself, and my son, I had to trust everybody around us who was part of our team, who was airlifting us to another island, who was um, sharing with us what needed to take place. So, reflecting back, of course, it's a lot easier than the
Yeah.
journey sometimes. But I think trust was the ultimate path that I was walking. And my deepest fear that would be revealed later was losing what I love.
Losing what I love.
And
Hmm.
so, really leaning into that in ways that I had never been asked to before. And I didn't feel necessarily like any teaching or anything that I had read or known about, none of it was relevant at the time. It was such an emergence of presence that had always been there,
Yeah.
that I I had the choice to step into, and I knew that that was the choice I needed to make.
And you did.
And I did. I
Hmm.
really did.
You
Yeah.
be for that moment with
Mhm.
everything that led you to that moment. You were ready to be witness to that call
Mhm.
and and to say yes to your own self.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. It's such um a free and liberating and expanded lens to put on the possibility of loss. And there's just so much there in the contemplation of the possibility of loss, of losing something that you love. And I remember when Olivier, my first son, was 1, a friend of mine's son had passed away in a car accident, and it hit me. I remember it hitting me like a ton of brick that I hadn't thought about of the possibility of losing him. For some reason, it's not something you wanna think about.
Mhm.
And I remember having to have the conversation with myself. It's possible, and I can't let that fear dictate how I am with him, right? And as parents, I know that that's something that we, uh, yeah, struggle with, because in that moment, you had to trust yourself as emerging. You said you had to trust the team around you who was with intelligence embarking in their own role in this event, and they're following their guidance in the best way that they can. So you can't be controlling or managing that. That's just
Mhm.
happening. And then in trusting the intelligence in him, and that is complete freedom for him, you know?
Absolutely. And I think that's what I came face to face with. So the night before he was going in for surgery, we have these little cots and I'm on this little cot and I am restless. Like his whole life is flashing before my eyes. Every moment, every memory. It was like this real experience that I wasn't thinking about. It was just this event that was happening. And I look over at him and he's soundly sleeping. He's just, in the deepest of sleep. And in that moment, I recognized that my agenda, as a mom, as the fear of loss, all of these things, I had this crystal clear moment of recognizing that it was much too small for what needed to unfold. I
Your
just had
your
go ahead.
like your role was too
Mhm,
small. The way you've known yourself to be in relationship to him was too small.
mhm.
Support the
Ab
moment.
Absolutely, and recognizing, most kids, they'll, go off to college, or there'll be this event that is like this recognition that they are completely on their own path. Even though we think beforehand that we know this, there's this moment that really initiates it. And for me, that initiated it at the deepest, deepest, deepest level I've ever known possible. That my agenda, my role, my experience in all of it was this. I could feel myself. There was a desperation, there was a grasp, there was a very much a, I want to be able to control this.
Yeah.
And in letting that go, really being able to step into that powerful place of trust, and not from my head, not from a place I had known before. It was a new space, a new
Mm.
place.
It's almost like I know like I've been experiencing something um not like you've experienced with your son, but something around um you know acknowledging that if there is death or if there is destruction, which kind of shatters any kind of expectations or hopes and desires. And there's nothing wrong with hope for our children and desires for them to be everything they can be. Um, but this idea that the beauty in the potential for death and destruction and is something we don't really talk about, especially when it comes to our children. But I think that as mothers and as feminine divine creators, which is in men and women, like that ground that you talk about, like that ocean ground that just like is ready and full of life to create anything that it wants, that can also come with destruction, that it can come with something has to die for something to be born. And yeah, and I don't think that I know for myself, it's not a power that I am comfortable with yet,
Mhm.
because it is a power. It's a force. It's a primordial force that we have as the ground of everything that's possible.
As you and I do, we'll take this all the places it needs to go. And so I can feel this beautiful segue for me to share with you, what we're talking about with trust and the ground we think we know, right? And what I've been experiencing in the last year very, very powerfully is that my truth. So, what it is that I deeply know. And when I have a sense of that breaching, breaching something, that something is going to need to be shifted, that I know that what I'm about to share is going to shift something in me, in others, and in the very ground that we stand on. That has been a great, as a woman, I think I've had a pullback in that. I've known how to share my truth right to a point
Mm-hmm.
that it's going to feel like, okay, there can be this little ripple, but to allow the earthquake, to allow the undoing and the unbecoming takes such trust. And my journey with my son, my journey along another path this year. I mean, I did not come through the experience with my son and then just go into this like quiet. It's almost like it brought everything to the surface. So there were things that I couldn't not know anymore.
Huh.
There were things that I couldn't not see anymore.
Mm.
And that brought me to the next core experience, is maybe you'll have another word for it, but this, I think the core essence of us also pulls at the core wounds that we carry. And my two that I could identify for myself in the last year was the fear of losing a child, not a child, my young adult, um, and the fear of losing my home.
Mm. Two very
And
um, earthy, primary, earth shattering
primal is,
situations.
yeah, primal. It was very much, and to move right from one into the next. Um, it it opened me, Anne, in a way that I I'm just, as I sit here with you this morning, I know no other place than to just be real and
Mm.
to be in exactly the moment I'm in without seeking for the next moment or longing for the moment before. It really has been this direct line to presence that is unnerving in some moments because, like you said, it's not always, creation has an element of destruction to it. It has an element of, I can't put this back together.
Yeah.
And I'm learning it with more grace. I'm learning it with more trust. And that is being reflected back to me now. So that
Yes.
when I have a really deep truth to share that I don't know how it will be received, I have a trust now that it's taking me on the path I need to go on, and it's taking the other on the path they need to go on.
Yeah.
And when we have such deep self responsibility, responsibility for ourselves
Yep.
with another who carries that, it's a beautiful thing. It is a thing that can open and create an intimacy and a love that just doesn't have agenda to it.
It really is almost like a whole other realm to describe relationships. To have two self-responsible people or a community of self-responsible adults or humans, and that it's always for this deeper ground of growth for both parties, for everyone involved. And yeah, it's pretty, it's definitely not what we're um modeled most of the time. um but
Mhm.
when you get the grace of being in the presence of someone who um understands this, love without attachment, that 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 deep freedom that comes from this mutual expansion. Yeah, it's such a gift, and it's a moment to moment. It requires moment to moment attention because hmm, I could see myself slip away easily, into the division, into the separation between between us. And then right now I'm thinking about my husband, for example. Um, yeah, I just love that you said that and that you expressed it like that. It's just so beautiful. And I just imagine it becoming the norm or becoming how we interact with each other in our communities
Yes.
and how it can change. It's a definitely a quantum leap in evolution. I think that I just want to say something about
Mm.
you said earlier, like that pull to trust, but only to an edge, right? Like before things could maybe die. Um, I think for me, it's because of the nurturer in me that I associate with mother, right?
Mm.
And so when there's the possibility of something breaking or dying so that something new can be born, it doesn't feel to my nervous system like it's nurturing, even though it deeply is, but it doesn't feel like it. That's not the direct experience in my nervous system. This is not nurturing, and you are a nurturing person.
It's been so helpful for me, Anne, to live in an active volcano area.
You're on the
um,
Big Island, so everybody knows that's listening of
yeah,
Hawaii.
it's been incredibly eye-opening because often I feel very much the same way as you, like that nurturer, that one that wants to tend and bring to life and create comfort and harmony and all of those things that are very much true to my nature. That is not something I have to forego. But I think, like you, what I'm learning is as I look to nature, that is already whole, that is already the biggest nurturer, she also is the greatest equalizer. So when those earthquakes happen, when the tsunamis happen, when the tornadoes, when the volcanoes happen, we we allow a shift, we allow a the landscape to change both around us and inside of us. The other night it was 11:30 and there was an earthquake here that was about a 5. So not small but not big. And it's like these rumbles are a constant reminder of what's happening inside of each of us.
Yeah.
There is this incredible stillness and calm. There is an incredible rumbling and a shift in seasons and different stages of our life. And one of the great, I think, equalizers of midlife as I come close to 50 um, really is to stop trying. That trying has been one of the biggest things that has gotten in the way of trust, of allowing things to take their course, to allowing things to end that and not holding on for longer than I need to. And yet, like you said, there's this like nervous system response of, I have felt the greatest fear and terror in the last year of my life than all my 49 years. And instead of pushing it away or finding a calming way to contextualize it, I just pulled it close. I befriended my fear. I shook. I allowed an unraveling and undoing, a to the point where, that expression of like, take me to my knees, that was where I was. And it was beautiful. It was necessary. It was recognizing that this next act of my life, I can't take this with me. I can't take these strategies and these, trust as a strategy and trust as wholeness
Yeah.
are two very, very different expressions, and not good or bad. But what I've recognized in my life is trust in a sense of being whole with grace. It can allow such massive, massive growth, such, uh, so that even if the landscape is unrecognizable, it's still known,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. That might be a little cryptic,
Great.
but
I'm with you. I'm with you. I think of when because I'm writing about trust, I'm contemplating trust. It's kind of what I'm diving into lately, and I always come back to this idea that when we are in between lifetimes as divine beings, or in the ancient continent of Lemuria, when we were light beings living on earth, or before all this, when we were these primordial forces, and looking to know itself, and to go on adventures, and there's this idea that trust wasn't even a concept, that it just was a oneness, like you described, like it was a knowing, and then it's in the division and in the duality that this element comes back. So I love that you made that distinction, because sometimes I'll be writing and we're like, well, none of this is useful because at the core of it, trust is not needed, is the isness of presence. But it's almost like it's a bridge for the brain, for the intellect, to tap into that knowing.
Mm. And I think it's a very, very strong cue that we have been taught by society to ignore.
Mm-hmm.
So I think bringing it into the sphere of our awareness is so important, Anne. Like
Mm-hmm.
what you're speaking about, what you're now, because we know what we speak about is the journey that we are agreeing to go on.
Yep.
Um,
We're
and
creating it right
we
now
are
in real
creating it.
time.
Yeah. And so I think that's incredibly important that we talk about it, that we talk about the things that have kept us from. It's a visceral cue. It's a very, very, for me, I'll speak personally. Um, it's a visceral knowing that seeks expression. It seeks um, to be that creative force that isn't attached to the outcome of how it's going to be received, how it is going to look as the ground shifts. Um, and I say that without really an edge, because I've learned that it can be so graceful, that it can be, and maybe this is the important piece to connect to it. It's very vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's incredibly vulnerable to share that which we know, that which we can deeply trust, that might not have a precise explanation. or a way of being measured. But the expression of that knowing is saying, I trust you. I trust myself. I trust the co-creation of this moment.
Yeah. 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 It's really, it's definitely stirring something in my belly. Yeah. To be talking about this.
And I think too, because I also can hear from the perspective of if I was listening to this right now, to be invited into that which we know to be true, and to allow ourselves the vulnerability of our hands might shake a little bit, our voice might shake a little bit, our heart might pound a little faster, because when we're getting closer to trusting that, I really believe we're coming close to we're stepping into the core of who we really are, the essence that it isn't calculated of whether something will be created or something will be um, destroyed. Has such a it has it moves through me in a very I don't know if I have things attached to it. And so I can hear myself wanting to use the word shift, but it's like things when when the volcanic goddess on the big island moves, there are many things that are destroyed.
Yeah.
But what's beautiful, and I think this is why I always come back to nature, because what happens is there's dormant seeds
Mm-hmm.
underground that cannot grow, cannot be sparked unless fire comes through an area, unless a volcano comes through an area. And I think more than ever, what I'm noticing as I look around the world is the things that we need to be able to trust, the
Mm-hmm.
things that, and it has to start from inside of us. I can't trust the volcano until I trust that elemental expression of myself.
I've been very fascinated by that identity as elemental forces lately.
Mhm.
Um,
Me
be-
as well.
really, it just brings me even beyond, Lemurian time. It brings me beyond the stars. It brings me like to an origin
Mm,
at the void almost, which
mhm.
is interesting. And I know we're getting a little abstract here, but it works for me to deepen my understanding of my of my identity in this way. And wow, I loved the dormant seeds thing because I like things do have to die for space to be created, but I never thought of um the activation of something ancient and ready
Mhm.
um being uncovered because of the destruction, because of the fire element that just, burns things to the ground. Um, that feels really good. That feels really good in my body, like almost like this awakening of ancient seeds that are just that they're ready. It's their time. It's the
Mhm.
time. The time has come.
Mhm.
And then whatever was there before, its time has come to an end, and it's out of love for expansion
Yes.
in life.
it's complete love.
Yeah.
And I think coming from the core of that love, not like we brought in the beginning, that agenda and the things that we've learned and the separation that we've created, really allowing that to dissolve, really, really focusing on knowing those new seeds are coming out of dormancy, allowing that to be the focus of our attention, trusting that, and then allowing what we need to let go of, what we need to, that just no longer serves. Um, and there's no greater invitation that I'm recognizing than paying attention to ourselves in relationship.
Yeah.
That's our greatest guide in showing us.
Great teacher.
It's
'Cause we
such a
can't
great
do it
teacher.
on our own.
No.
Mm.
So I have that, in the human to human relationship, the human to the earth relationship, the human to all the other than human creatures. There are teachers and guides that we're experiencing every moment of our life. Whether we go through for a walk through the woods, whether we're sitting with a loved one, whether we're sitting in a difficult and uncomfortable conversation. Um, and the other word that's been coming up for me a lot lately that connects to this is discernment, really discerning so much in my life, where I'm having those conversations, with whom I'm having those conversations. Um, and responsibility of ourselves is such an important starting place, to be responsible for the energy moving through our bodies, for the feelings that we're sensing, for the awareness of all parts of ourselves. And then really inviting that and trusting that with another.
Mm. Yeah. With other, whatever is
Mhm.
in front of us in that moment. I love what you said earlier about like stop trying. That really um resonates with me right now. And everything you just said around relationship, like that comes into play as well because there is an intelligence and a magic and an emergence and a creativity that comes from the meeting as two presents. And so there's nothing to do, really. There's nothing to do. It's just being deeply aware of what is there. And I find, oh, I've exhausted myself in my life trying. And so I feel this deep, like, surrender, thinking about even less trying. And I think you're a Capricorn like me, right? Yeah. So
Mhm.
I totally blame the Capricorn in me for being a trier and a doer, which is not a bad thing. I think that we can make things happen, which is beautiful. But there's an even more effortless way
Mhm.
in the not trying. Creation is not trying.
There, that is so beautifully put. You just summed up all of it. Creation is not trying. Um, I was sending an email the other day and I recognized that so much of what I'm creating in my life currently, living in the jungle in Hawaii and learning so much from this land, requires that I stop trying over and over and over again. And it made me think of being pregnant
Yeah.
because there is no trying. In that creation, what we're supposed to be doing is resting and playing and eating well and allowing support and really recognizing that there's nothing, and you said it earlier, there's nothing for us to do. We are trusting our bodies, we're trusting the act of creation that this little being is being formed inside of us, and we are not thinking about it. We are not doing, we are not trying, we are being.
Yeah.
And I continue to get this reminder in my life when I am, hyper focusing, trying to make something happen. And I recognize the moment I take a step back and I stop trying. The flow that is already there, that I've just been in resistance of, takes shape and something will effortlessly be created. But I also recognize part of it is the dance.
hmm Yeah. The
I,
con
I Yeah, I don't need to judge it. I don't need to. It's so freeing in my life now to not judge things, to be like, oh, wow, this is not what I expected. Or, okay, I have to really just stop and not know for a few minutes or a few days or
Yeah.
a few years. And that has been part of my cultivation of trust
Yeah.
to just stop, to go, okay, if I try to make this work, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's in a task I'm doing, the presence, my incredible center and presence becomes absent. It's
It's tragic.
it's tragic, and I've called it love for a long time,
Yes.
right? And so now the freedom of that is that to love without trying is it opens space for new things to emerge. And I think if we're ever at a time in our human beingness that new things need to emerge, it's now.
Yeah.
And I know that every time I'm going down a well worn path or a track or something that I'm so sure is right, uh, I'm humbled. I'm humbled to recognize that is not what's needed for emergence.
Yeah.
I need to be okay in that watery space, which is why I love chatting with you, that we just allow. Sometimes I think, oh my goodness, is it too abstract? Like we go all these places, but there's this incredible element of trust. There's an incredible element of we can just lay it all down
Yeah.
where, when people ask me these days, like, who am I and what am I doing? It's very, very, I often don't know how to answer it because I really feel like I'm unlearning and I'm unbecoming more than I'm learning and becoming.
Mm. Wow.
so that I can notice and I can be in reverence of the emergence that I know is possible for, and not just possible, I know is happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't want to fight the current. I know what it's like to do that. So I'm like, what if I just don't do that? What does life look like? What does it feel like? What if I'm so open and vulnerable with how I'm feeling in the moment that I'm unashamed
Unashamed of what is there, of any of it.
any of it? Because, yeah, spending a life trying and, you know, in in shame of what is just truly present. There's so much struggle inside of ourselves. There's so much resistance, and I think life has taught me in the last year and a half, what if I try something different? So that when I am in complete trust, it doesn't mean that I don't allow a a moment of not trusting,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Right? So it's
Right.
like in that,
Yeah.
my moments that I can feel that tsunami passing through my body, that I can lay down on the floor and be witnessed by whoever's around me and be open enough to have somebody put their hand on me so that I can fully surrender, so that I can actually stop trying. I think so many of my giant waves of energy that have moved through my body has been when I've finally exhausted myself
Yeah.
enough that I can't
Yeah.
try anymore.
Yes. Yes. And we all know what that feels like. It's this begging for surrender.
Mhm.
Our bodies, our soul, everything's just begging for surrender. But the, the lack of reference points are just, sometimes a little too scary. Um, but I, the way you describe this moment to moment presence is just it's pure magic. And you said earlier, like, I'm missing in that moment, like when I'm not present and I am trying, I'm missing. My emergence is missing. The magic is missing. And it's like you said, it's not bad or good or right or
Mm-mm.
wrong. It's just when you know that, then N the practice is just, well, practice sounds harsh, but the way is to just bring yourself back. And it's the dance, it's the back and forth. Life is the back and forth. Life is not just, "Oh, we you
Mm-mm.
know, on a mountain, everything's great, I'm connected." It's the it's the back and forth with all the people that we love. And the people are and the earth and someone said that Nova Scotia's having a sinus infection weather-wise right now. So, like, I'm thinking of, I haven't seen the sun in a while. And so it's with that as well. It's like noticing myself, you know, getting more, having to surrender more when um when my solar powered body can't get, get doesn't get the jolt it normally gets. Um, but there's intelligence in that. There's like deep, the slowing into yourself, like the slowing down into yourself, the coming in even more deeply, the going out of time in ourselves. Like there's a place out of time, and January, February is where like I land there for a while. But maybe it's more. Maybe it's in November. Maybe it's in December. Maybe it's a more of a, constant reminder that with this incredible force of creation that I am, um, the the surrender equally needs to be there. Maybe, yeah, maybe it's just more equal than I thought. The creation and the letting go. Maybe it's more even.
It's interesting when you're speaking, I have this image of, we spoke about it earlier, like we talk about life so often. It's become, very comfortable to speak about welcoming more life and this experience of being alive, and to normalize allowing ourselves to speak about death, to
Yeah.
speak about we have one foot in each world in every moment. For me, a few years ago when I did the podcast with you about my near-death experience, one of my choosing to come back reasons was to live. And I didn't understand it at the time. What a tall task.
Yeah.
What a big commitment that is, because what I've recognized is the closer I live to the delicacy of life being here in one moment and being gone in the next, the more I straddle those worlds for myself. And maybe that's what I'm on the journey to doing, is like not straddling anything. But in this moment, I can be very real to say that's where I am. And there is such a magic to it. So maybe the word, because it came up before we started this conversation, was, if I were to have one word of what has made trust easier, what has made straddling this world of life and death easier. We've heard it a million times, but it's acceptance. And with everything I've been through in the last year and a half, taking me into this moment where our beloved family dog that we've had for 11 years,
Yeah.
he is, my knowing is very strong. I know he's transitioning. He just started barking as I said
I
that.
heard that.
And
Sweetheart. Sweetheart.
and what has made this easier is acceptance, is fully accepting that which I know. And so that every moment that I'm with him isn't out of fear of losing him. That's not where my love gets to come from,
No.
but that I get to be with him in this fragile place of not knowing. So when I wake up in the morning, he sleeps at the foot of our bed. I wake up and the first thing I do is I lean forward and I see if he's still breathing, because my knowing is so strong, and I feel in such support of his transition.
Mm.
And the night before Noah's surgery, I think that's all that happened, was I just came into complete acceptance of what was happening in this moment, what was real and true. And in that, I could let go of control. I could let go of I could still have the fear. I could still have all these beautiful human emotions that were cascading through my body, but they were held in this, the deepest, deepest, deepest knowing that was opening itself to me
Yeah.
so that
Not
I
in
could come home. Go ahead.
not in the resistance. Yeah.
And Anne, I knew intelligently enough, I knew that was only going to hinder the whole experience. And if I could just step out of that, there could be the purest of expression.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's happening with your dog. The getting like personally out of the way of the process that's unfolding and yet allowing yourself to feel what you feel,
Mhm.
but almost like not that individual self meddling in the magic of life unfolding through death.
I like that.
Because it just reminded me of that video I saw a few years ago. Well, I think it was 2018 about the volcano erupting on your island and um a council meeting and people coming to talk about diverting the lava and a woman from Hawaii and came to the podium and said we're not going to divert her lava when Pele speaks and she needs to clean her house. We let her clean her house and it's that meddling, right? That meddling in, like you said, the pregnant women, we're not meddling. And then as soon as the baby's born, it's almost like Wayne Dyer used to say that, like, okay, God, thanks for the great work. Now I'll take over. What? Like, how
Right,
is so
right.
now there's no more brilliance to the intelligence of life? So, yeah, what a beautiful gift to and an honor to be able to be so present as your dog is passing away.
And I think that's happening in our lives every day, whether we're with people in the grocery store, whether we are really in this transition, whether it's the death of an identity, whether it's the death of a loved one, whether it's the death of a belief that we've carried for generations. There is this great reverence right now to be found and um, a great wake up call in that which is coming to a completion and being able to not push something away or fret about, why it was there for so long, but to really be in reverence of and gratitude. It sounds funny to say it, but I've had more gratitude for the things in my life that had kept me safe for a period of time, that when it is seemingly time in my body, when something is no longer serving, um, it's really important that I pay attention quickly.
Yes,
Uh,
quick.
quickly, I'm really recognizing that to just, it's kind of like pulling a band-aid off, just to recognize it and notice this doesn't serve anymore, and to be in the active experience of seeing that all the way to completion, being in the presence of something completing itself.
Completing itself, a cycle completing itself. Yeah. Yeah. It's it's a beautiful thing. And yeah, like you said earlier, we just don't talk about that part and we don't really, yeah. So for you now, you mentioned earlier that after, when you had your near death experience that you knew you came back to live. You still feel like that? You still feel like you're here to live?
Probably more than ever.
More than ever.
And I'm here to trust life,
Mm,
to trust the life that moves through me, to trust the life that moves around me, to trust the beginnings and the endings of things, to be in reverence to the things that feel hard, because I know that that is allowing something new to emerge. So it's it's knowing that my life is not disconnected from many, many, many generations to come, to having that, the sacredness that one of my favorite poets who died this summer, Andrea Gibson, I just watched her documentary, Come See Me in the Good Light. I highly recommend it. Um, she reads one of her poems. I wish I had a copy to read to you, but what I felt as she read it in this movie was, our soul, what if our soul longs for the grief and the anger and all the human emotions? What if our soul longs to eat the food that we eat? Like, this life is such a gift. I've had the experience now on the other side that is just boundless, and there is no need to talk about trust. There is no need to talk about death. It just is. I've had that experience, and choosing to come back and then be on the other side, so beautifully afraid to lose what I love, like just gripped in that experience. I wouldn't want it any other way. That's how deeply I love. That's how much I'm being called and asked to trust this life and all of its experiences. And so, yeah, having had my son be the one to reach out for my hand a few years ago and, Mom, stay. It came from such a pure place. It wasn't fear. It wasn't anything other than, please stay. There's more. There's more that we have to experience. And then to be on the other side, where he invited me to see all the ways that as a mom I was attached, and I had these like heartbreakingly strong desperations for his life to stay, and then his invitation for me to peel that all away and to go, stay, please stay, right?
stay with.
There's just, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Mm.
this life, we're not done yet. And so, Anne, my answer is a resounding yes, that is still my why, that I am being asked to trust every experience that comes my way. And the biggest moments are when I go, oh shit, I don't trust this. There's no part of me that trusts this. That's how I know I'm right on the edge. I'm on the edge of leaning in just a little more to find it, to wrap myself in it, to not back away from the very thing that at some point in my nervous system, it's like, whoa, this is a no-go zone. It's like, this is a go zone.
Is
This
it?
is where my adventurous life begins,
Yes.
where the
And
magic is.
I really do believe that we are here as adventurers and explorers of light. Like as light, we wanted to come as an to adventure through this matter, through this body, through this experience of being human, and knowing our capacity and our depth as this light through the density. And it was a joyful, deep, loving choice. And so yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing what you deeply know to be true with us today, Naomi. I know you said earlier, like, it can sound abstract, but what I know about our conversations, and especially from other listeners who've listened to our previous conversation on the podcast, it's the energetics in the conversation. It doesn't, if someone's trying to understand it intellectually, I'm going to say right now, I'm going to give you a headache. But as you surrender to your own knowing and allow that to vibrate with the conversation, it's delicious. It's delicious.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Naomi.
And thank you once again. I always feel I just have to share this as we move out. I feel like I'm coming to the Olympics when I come on a call with you. Like I feel
Really?
like absolutely like everything that I've ever like practiced or like been in movement towards, it's like the space where our greatness, where everything culminates and we get to live it together for this time, truly, move right into it and speak from this space. So I am so grateful. I am so in trust with our friendship, with how we move through the world, and definitely in gratitude for you and your to be a fellow traveler, adventurer, explorer, and on that living edge, um, and for you to share so openly with others and so generously. I give you a deep bow. Thank you.
Same right back at you, beautiful friend. Love you so much.
Love you too.
Hey, thank you for listening. There can be a lot of noise and inauthenticity on the spiritual path. I help spiritual seekers experience embodied spirituality. To learn how, visit my website at anneberube.com and click on the Start Here page. Oh, and subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. Until next time, be well.
Words on the street, they say that you don't care about me anymore. But you know it's in the way they walk, in the way they talk. I don't believe a thing, I don't believe a thing they say. You know I love you anyway, anytime, any place. You mean the world to me, you mean everything to me. And that's why I say